Villawood Properties, premier partner of the Riverwood Football Netball Club.
Welcome to the Tank. I'm David Morris, and on tonight's show we'll reveal the results of the weekend's clash with Wood End, as well as Nick Ash's thoughts on the game, and also hear from our first gamer, Matty Jenkins. We will also chat to one of our stars, Brett Chambers, and under-19 goal-kicking machine, Jacob Chahine. 60 seconds with feats returns, as does a sneak peek with more of West Wheel's outcomes. Righto, it's on with the show.
In somewhat moist conditions, Riverwood 10-10-70 defeated Wood End 4-10-34. Dylan Featon and Kane Murphy the main goal scorers. Best for Riverwood, Nash Egan, Brent Swallow, Brett Chambers, Lockie Muir, Kane Murphy and Johnny Barnard sees Riverwood sitting comfortably in second position on the ladder. In the reserves, Riverwood 10-14-74 defeated Wood End 2-6-18. Mark Young, Mitch Boyd and Chris Lucas with 2 goals each. Best for Riverwood, Chris Lucas, Mark Young, Aaron Grubb, Dylan Dremel, Sean Crawford and Dan Castle. Riverwood now firmly sitting in second position, 1 game behind Wallen. And in the under-18s, Riverwood 12-15-87 defeated Wood End 3-4-22. Goals to Jacob Chahine and Bryce Caldone. Best players for Riverwood, Brock Lant, Dan Webster, Bailey Marshall, Ben Borg, Michael Fox and Connor Barrett. The ladder sees Riverwood sitting firmly on top with Wallen closely on their heels.
Rightio, we're here with the winning coach, Nick Ash, red-faced. Tell us a bit about today, Ashy.
Yeah, pretty tough conditions out there, mate. It was one of those days, which was a Phoenix Mogs sprint out there. Thank God they've got a new surface up here over the last 3 years, otherwise it would have been pretty boggy. First half was played in pretty dry conditions, and then the rain set in the second half, which made it pretty hard for both sides.
Our last quarter I thought was very impressive. Wood End going to the scoring end, but we were able to hold sway and steady up.
Yeah, it was a pretty good last quarter. It was a pretty good game in retrospect, I guess you could say. Wood End improved a hell of a lot. We knew that before the game, knew it was going to be a really good contest. They were pretty physical out there today, and I thought we matched it. And in the end, we were lucky enough to come away with a win.
Yeah, fantastic game. We've got a couple of injuries to lick our wounds over the break, and we come back bigger and better in a couple of weeks.
We certainly will. That's the aim.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, Nick.
Morfab Engineering, platinum sponsor of the Riverwood Football Netball Club.
Rightio, Matty, your first game of senior footy today. How'd you find it, mate?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, very good. Good to get a touch on the footy and not just sitting there in the cold.
Bit of a change of pace.
Yeah, toughness and a bit of pace and everything like that.
Yeah, those are the big things you noticed?
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. Did a couple of very good things with the footy today, mate, I thought.
I don't know. That's what you think.
Yeah, no, I thought you handled yourself very well and very pleased with the first game.
In the netball, B grade, Riverwood 44 defeated Wood End 26. In C grade, Riverwood 34 defeated Wood End 22. And in the under-19s, Riverwood 35 defeated Wood End 18.
As part of our series introducing you to our players, it's with great pleasure that I introduce Brett Chambers. Brett, tell us about your footy journey.
Football wise, I started in under 11s at Sunbury Lions. I played all my juniors there, then went into the under 18s, had a couple of years under 18s there before going down to Coburg. Played 3 years at Coburg, and then after, I think it was 2006, I went back to Sunbury Lions Seniors in 2007. Played 7 years there. Had a premiership in 2012, and then after, I think it was 2014, played the first season down in Rupo and haven't looked back.
Very nice. It's a good change down at Rupo. Enjoying it down here?
Yeah, it's been good. Been good to keep a pretty similar bunch of blokes since I started, and all a good young group from the outset, and they've all stuck together, which makes a really good side.
Nice. So who were some of the players of note during your time?
Probably when I first started, Maxie and Lee Brennan were sort of the more senior blokes down here, and obviously Ben Jordan, I had a bit to do with him, who helped get me over here, along with Niall, who was doing a bit of pressuring. But they were probably the ones that I sort of knew when I first came across most, because I grew up playing against Lee a fair bit in junior footy, because we were about the same age, and I knew Maxie as well. And yeah, so they're probably the main ones from the time at Rupo early on.
You said you won a flag down at Lions. What are some of the highlights along your career?
The premiership's obviously always going to be one of the highlights. I was lucky enough to play in a school grand final at the MCG. That was pretty good fun. Played there twice in a row. We won one, lost one. The second one I ended up injured off the second half, so I actually got to have a look around and take it in a bit more than you do while you're playing, which now you look back at it, probably wasn't a bad thing. But had a few good interleague campaigns, had a chance to play on a few pretty decent footballers over the time, and unfortunately when I played Vic Country, it was probably one of the worst days ever, but that was also pretty good to have a chance to play and wear a Victorian jumper.
Okay. What's the most embarrassing song you have on your phone at present?
I don't actually have any songs on there. So there's not too much. I was actually thinking about it the last couple of days. There's not a thing on there, so every time I go to look for a song, there's nothing. Saving it all for videos of kids and everything that Ness is always making me take, because my phone's better.
Who in the club would you not want in your room with you on footy trip, and why?
There's probably a few. Nails would be up there, because he always seems to be trying to stir someone up or cause some sort of trouble. You wouldn't want Turd, because you get stunk out of the turd bottles that will stick you out of the place. They're probably two that come to mind immediately.
That's fair enough. We don't blame her. The Rupo faithful are looking forward to your boys coming down and playing under the father-son rule. Tell us a bit about your boys.
The two little boys, they're both pretty nuts at the moment. We've got Brocky, who's already playing in the juniors, so we're working on him. He had a pretty good goal on the weekend. He kicked the last goal of the game and ended up winning by the goal, so he's pretty happy with himself at the moment.
He's a forward player, not a backman like you?
A bit of both. They move him around week by week in the 13s at the moment. So. And then the two little ones, I reckon Geordie, the 3-year-old, he's probably a bit more a basketballer at the moment. He plays basketball around the house a bit more, and Blake's pretty into his footy, and he's going to be a pretty hard nut. I don't think you'd want to run into him, because he goes 100 miles an hour and he's pretty brutal. And he's a big unit for his age.
So Chamber, you're an NBA fan. Who do you follow in the NBA, and who's your favourite player?
Team-wise, I've never really had a specific team. I sort of always stuck following either favourite players or a few of the Australians. So at the moment, as probably a lot of Australians, they're probably keeping a closer eye on Simmons, so I sort of follow them in the Sixers a bit at the moment. But before that, I'd been watching Jazz with Ingles and Dante Exum a lot. So
yeah. All right. So talking about teams that you follow, let's talk about Essendon and Dons. What's going on with them at the moment, mate?
We're following the Sixers bandwagon, I think, and trusting the process, trying to get a few good draft picks moving ahead. I don't know what's really gone wrong this year. I haven't actually seen too much of it, because chasing Brock around with basketball or football or the little ones or at our own footy, so I haven't seen too much of what they're doing wrong. But obviously nothing's going too well at the moment, but hopefully they can turn it around and do something positive, or at least blood some young guys and maybe get a good draft pick. Carlton might have stuffed that one up on the weekend.
Chambo, the nose is pretty as always. Is there any chance when you hang up the boots of footy of go and get some reconstruction and get your nose fixed?
It's actually been fixed once while I was at Coburg. I'd had it busted a few times. It got to the stage where I couldn't really breathe through it. So they said, all right, now we'll go get it fixed. Otherwise, pretty much the breathing was the only reason they did it in the end, because they said if you're still playing footy, there's no point.
Yeah.
So we got it fixed. First game like the end. I think it was the end of the 2005 season. First pre-season game in 2006. Chased someone from behind, went to tackle him. His elbow came back, smacked me square in the nose. It was smashed across my face again. And fair to say, Mum was pretty shattered about it. She wasn't overly impressed, and ever since then it's just gone downhill again. It was straight for a few months.
We were talking about the boys before, mate. Is there any chance of having more kids, or can you have any more kids?
No more kids for us now. I think I've recently had the snip, so
right, it's done.
We're all done. So three of them's enough. They keep us busy, and I don't think we need any more of them running around. It'd be chaos.
No worries. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us, Chambo.
No worries, Doris.
Have a good one,
Thanks for
mate.
having me.
Pinnacle Print Group, platinum sponsor of the Riverwood Football Netball Club.
Well, welcome to the Tank, Jacob. Says for 2018. It's been a pretty good year for you so far, kicking 29 goals in 5 matches. Tell us a bit about your season so far and how it's panning out for you.
Yeah, it's been alright so far, just up in the goal square with Creedy every game. Not really used to it because I was playing backline last year every game, but me and Creedy have pretty much worked things out down there now, and it's going alright.
Have you changed anything over your summer in your preparation?
Oh no, not really, just had to train more forward structures and that and back.
You've played at both ends of the ground now. Which one do you prefer?
Oh, definitely the goal square.
The goal square? Yeah, a bit easier to chase tail, like it. You're averaging almost 6 goals a game. What's the secret, mate?
Well, it's not much of a secret, but when the boys are putting them on the plate for you, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, good delivery always helps. Nice. So you're originally at Sunbury Lions, and with your twin brother Zach, then you just made your way to the Tank. How'd you find your way here?
Well, Zach moved back to the Tank in a couple of years before I came back, and not much was happening at Lions for me, and I just wanted to play with him, so I came back last year, and yeah, it was alright.
Nice. I see Zach's down at East Sunbury now. Are you missing him?
Oh, no, not really.
Fair enough. Who are the biggest competitors in the under-19s this season? It has traditionally been Wallen, Woodend and Riddle. Is that still the case?
I think Riddle and Woodend have gone down a bit this year, but Wallen are still up there. I think Boardford are going to be a big challenge for us this year as well.
Okay, nice. Well, thanks for your time, Jacob, and all the best for the remainder of 2018.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Hi, welcome to 60 Seconds at the Tank with my guest tonight, Matthew Smith. We'll get on with the questions.
You ready, mate?
Yeah. What would be the name of your autobiography of your life?
The Shrimp.
Why?
Why? Because the nickname's the Shrimp.
How did you get the nickname Shrimp?
Just after a few beers, probably can't be said on this, so leave it there.
A few of the boys have been throwing around Mini Smitty as well. How does that come about?
Because I've been responsible and just drinking mid-strength during the week to so I can drive home, pretty much.
In the crayon box, if you could be a coloured crayon, what colour would you be?
Probably black. So I wouldn't mind a few shades darker on the skin. So.
What was the last experience that made you a stronger person?
Pass.
Rodney's given us this list of questions, which isn't very good, but what 3 traits define you?
I think I'm quite humorous. I'm good looking and
modest as well, I guess.
And modest, yeah.
When you have 30 minutes of free time, how do you pass the time?
30 minutes?
Yeah.
Probably can't be said on this.
And just to finish up, who would be your favourite Rupo personality and why?
Probably you, because you're the tractor.
Oh, you're a knob. Alright, thanks for being part of it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, boss. The side that's paid $60 for.
have a couple of jokes. So we'll go a couple of jokes. So I'll start with, what's the hardest part? The vegetable. Thanks for it. Alright.
Final credits roll. Stay tuned as we are rolling out a series of special features to present more information on our corporate partners and their businesses and give you a greater awareness of what they're about and what they can do for you. Okay, that's it from me at the tank for another week. Stick around for the RDFNL football netty show with Tara and Yindi. You stay classy, San Diego.
Big g'day and welcome to another cracking edition of the RDFNL Footy Show. Looking back on the latest round of excitement, my name's Yendi, I'm joined by Tara Murray from the Star Weekly. An interesting round of games that took place over the weekend.
It was, but a little bit predictable. If you had have told me heading into the round we had two close ones, one team had a comfortable win in another one, and three very one-sided matches, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah, certainly, an intrigue. Like, the weather sort of played a bit of a part in it though, didn't it?
I think at a couple of matches, I know I was out at Sunbury Kangaroos, Melton Centrals, and they had rain. It was windy all day, and the wind sort of was on and off. The rain was on and off, and I think it was across the board at a few other locations as well. The weather was pretty terrible.
Tell us a bit about what happened at Sunbury Kangaroos and Centrals. We know the hero James Aquilina, the captain of Centrals, he is on cloud nine after getting his boys over the line.
It is. It was a very low-scoring game, and both teams were very hard fought. It was a hard-fought, contested ball, and both teams had their chances to score, and they didn't make the most of them. And in the end, Centrals were better in that last quarter. They used the wind in the third quarter, got ahead, and then Sunbury Kangaroos were a little bit wasteful in that last quarter. I think they had 11 of the first 12 inside 50s in the last quarter, just kicked one goal, and then Centrals with their second inside 50 ended up getting a goal, which was the sealer. So both of these sides had a similar form line going into the match, and it was a bit of a reward for effort for Centrals. I spoke to both coaches afterwards. I know Centrals were pretty happy with that to finally get a win after playing three really good first halves and not being able to go on with it. So it was good for them. For the Kangaroos, they are struggling a little bit. I think they had 17 players out across their seniors and reserves, and they're struggling for numbers in their 19s as well, so it's hard to push guys up there, and in the end probably a little bit disappointed. And I think speaking with Anthony Layden, he said Centrals wanted the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, and probably the win's better for the Centrals, given that they're still a developing side at the moment, and as you say, that to be able to finish games off strongly hasn't been their strong point this year, and to be able to get that win and sort of do something they haven't done for most of the season is really a full credit to them.
It is. It's a lot of confidence booster there for them. So, and I think for the first time in a long time, they've had a lot of wins over the Sunbury Kangaroos in the one day. So I think all their teams that played Sunbury Kangaroos got the win. The A-grade netballers who did play Romsey had a loss, but all the teams that played Sunbury Kangaroos on the day got a win. So that's confidence boosting for that club.
Something that a team that's sort of lacking a little bit of confidence at the moment, I wouldn't have thought I'd say this, but Macedon's lacking a little bit of confidence after going down to Diggers Rest, and maybe not necessarily confidence the way they've been playing, but the way they've been kicking, because they had a disappointing last quarter and they almost kicked themselves out of the game.
And in the end, they had more scoring shots than Diggers Rest and failed to get over the line. Look, I don't think it's necessarily a lack of confidence. It's a side that's building into the season that's lost 2 matches against 2 sides we expect to be up there. So they've
got a lot of change in the lineup as well. There's a few younger guys in there.
They lost 5 or 6 players from last year's premiership side, and you've always got players in and out of the team as well. So for Macedon, I'm not worried about them at all. They're going to take time to build, and I expected that heading into the season. You look, they've only lost to Diggers Rest and Rupert's Wood, and the Diggers Rest game, they were in it to the end. It was only 8 points, and it was Diggers Rest getting over the line in a fourth quarter as well. They did that against Riddle a few weeks ago, and I thought they were the better side in the second half against Rupert's Wood as well. So you've got Diggers Rest who have shown they've got a lot of fitness and they're playing well in late in games.
And I guess the Cats missing a few key forwards as well. I know Matty Knox wasn't out there, and it's certainly that can play a bit of problem with team structures.
It is, but obviously probably not the day for a key forward either. So if you're going to be missing a key forward on a day, you'd rather it be a wet day when they're unlikely to get as much clean ball as it is to a dry day.
Exactly right. Now, a couple of games that probably were a little bit more one-sided. We'll talk about Wallen's win over Rockbank. Wallen looked like they were set for a big win, and Rockbank sort of kicked a few goals late in the game just to sort of hit the scoreboard.
No surprise here. What we've seen the last couple of years, Wallen smashes these lower sides. They've done it last year, and I think they even did it the year before. And we found that in a final round that sort of dictated who made finals the year before.
Yeah, they kicked over 40 goals, I think, in one game and knocked Sunbury Kangaroos out of the final.
It is. So it's something we've seen the last couple of years that when they play the low sides, they really do put in those quarter performances. They have 14 different goal kickers, and you have Ricky Shaven was best on form, and he's been performing pretty well across the season. For Rockbank, obviously kicking a couple of goals late, it was always going to be a tough day, but they didn't give up. They keep trying, and obviously for them it's about improving week by week.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately for them, they were just facing a Wallen side. They've really started to turn that corner now. After that game, I think against the Sunbury Kangaroos, they've come out and won a few games by heavy margins, and they've made a statement of the competition that they're not going to be taken lightly.
It is, but I want to see them against the top sides and play a good 4-quarter performance against top sides. Obviously, they've played Riddle and they've played Sunbury Kangaroos, who both played finals last year. Sunbury Kangaroos, we're not expecting to be as good as last year, and you've obviously got Riddle, who are traditionally slow starters. They're yet to play 4-quarter performance against one of those top sides. That's what I want to see from Wallen.
What happened over at Pink Day over at Romsey Park, where Romsey took down Lancefield in a very one-sided affair?
I know, it was 132-2, one of 2 games where we had sides that didn't kick a goal, so it didn't surprise me here. You've got Romsey, who is a lot further ahead than Lancefield in where they sit, and the scoreline reflects where the 2 sides are at. You've got Chris Burker kicked 4 goals for Romsey, so they've got a few different forward options we've seen the last few weeks, and it just reflects where they are.
Now, what about how Lancefield are sort of travelling? A few disappointing losses in a row after beating Broadford only a handful of weeks ago. It seems like a long way away.
It does, but obviously they've been playing a lot of the higher sides, so we sort of expected that.
They've got a tough draw this year.
They've got a tough draw, but they probably don't have the cattle that some of these other sides have in the park, so it's not unexpected to have a result like that.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Broadford, they had a pretty forgettable day against Riddle. I know they'd be keen to sort of bounce back from that, but I think Riddle, their inaccuracy wasn't the best in the second half, which was intriguing because I think at one stage there was 16 goals, 7 on the board in interesting conditions.
Well, in the end they had 52 scoring shots to 2. So they won by 195 points. You kick straight, they could have won by 250 points easy. So it was probably a performance we needed to see from Riddle. They're starting to get those 4-quarter performances after a really tough start to the season. So it was sort of what we expected. I think they had 15 goal kickers. You had 7 multiple goal kickers, and named the best for them was James Knoll. RFNL, and so he's obviously had a slow start to the season, ended up in the reserves, I think, for discipline reasons. So it's good to get him firing as well, and we're starting to see a little bit more of the Riddle we expected to see.
Well, they seem to have come on with a little bit of confidence on the back of what happened against Melton Central the previous week.
It is, obviously, and look, everyone said, we all I think you and I both said, Riddle's traditionally slow starters. Once they get going, they'll be hard to stop, and we're starting to see them fire now.
Another team that's been on fire this season, Rupert's were taking down Woodend Heskett. The Sharks, they were cruising away to what was going to be a pretty sizable win, but the Hawks made it a challenge in the third term to bridge the gap back. But unfortunately for them, they couldn't go on with the job.
It is. I always thought this game would be interesting to see how far Woodend Heskett has closed the gap on those top sides. So obviously they lost to Romsey the week before, but for them it was the challenge. How do they go against the Rupers Woods and the Diggers Rest and that? And it is a lot closer gap than it was previously. So probably 12 months ago, Woodend would have probably got smashed by Rupers Wood. So we're starting to see that gap is closing. There probably is still a little bit of difference between these sides, but Rupers Wood just keeps doing it every week.
Exactly. I think the Hawks can still take a bit of positivity out of that. 14 scoring shots to add to 20 is not a bad effort, considering they did kick a couple of goals to start the third term. Things were looking quite interesting, but the Sharks just maintained their composure, and I believe that the Hawks have yet to take down the Sharks since the Sharks entered the competition.
Yeah, and I think it's probably a little bit disappointing for the Hawks. They kicked 4 goals 10, so if you're going to win matches against these good sides, you need to kick better than that. Yeah, but obviously knowing what the weather was like in Sunbury, it was probably a little bit worse up at Woodend, so traditionally can be very wet and cold, so I'm expecting it probably wasn't a day to have a high scoring game.
Exactly. Well, we might see some high scores in matches coming up this week, but we'll touch on that later. Tara, thanks so much for joining us as we look back on the latest round of RDFNL football. We look forward to catching up with you later on in the week.
Thanks for having me.